Hello and welcome. I am Gimba Umar. Tonight, controversy deepens in the upper house of the status of the 2016 budget. The Senate accuses the president's senior special assistant on the Senate of switching the document. And Benin Republic's President Boni Yayi pays a farewell visit to his Nigerian counterpart. President Buhari advocates good relations with Nigeria's neighbors as key to national security. The Federal High Court in Lagos issues arrest warrant against former Niger Delta militant Tompolo for evading EFCC summons. An Islamic State claims responsibility for bombs and gun attacks in Indonesia's capital, Jakarta.
And on business news tonight, the slippery mode at the Nigerian equities market continues as the all-share index sheds 3.44%.
On sports news, FIFA hit Atletico Madrid and Real Madrid with sanctions for international transfers of minors.
And from Abuja, I'm Gloria Umezuke. Parents of the abducted Chibok schoolgirls demand the rescue of their children, urge federal governments to step up rescue efforts.
We'll begin tonight from the nation's capital, Abuja, where issues surrounding the 2016 budget is fast assuming the cast of a soap opera. The National Assembly has been going back and forth on the whereabouts of the document that was presented to it by the President Muhammadu Buhari on the 22nd of December 2015. Well, today a new twist was added to the drama when Senate President Bukola Saraki alleged that the senior special assistant to the President on the Senate, Senator Enang, had switched the original document with a new one.
2006, Senator Joshua Lidani from Gombe.
Now, one way to secure lives and property in the country is to ensure Nigeria maintains good relations with her neighbors. President Muhammadu Buhari said this while speaking at a joint press conference with his counterpart from Benin Republic, Mr. Boni Yayi, who came to pay him a farewell visit and thank him for his support. President Buhari commended Benin Republic's contribution to soldiers to fight insurgency under the Lake Chad Commission.
I am very appreciative of his consistency and steadfastness in our good relationship. Having known our problems, he has identified with it. In the correct priority, we identified them: our security, our economy, and fighting corruption. On the security, under the aegis of Lake Chad Basin Commission, comprising Cameroon, Chad, Niger, Nigeria, and Benin, he has not waited for Boko Haram to arrive at his borders. He has voluntarily agreed to participate into multinational joint task force by dedicating a number of troops from his country to be deployed as agreed by Lake Chad Basin Commission. This is a sacrifice he has made, bearing in mind the size and the economy of his country. Nigeria appreciates very much what he has done.
Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari. In the meantime, the Vice President has given the assurance that the federal government will pursue economic policies that will enhance national security. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo believes that the national economic security will, to a large extent, contribute to the reduction in social vices. He made this remark at a lecture on economic dimensions of the security at the Nigerian Experience at the National Defense College in Abuja.
It is day 2 of the lecture series of the National Defense College in Abuja. The guest lecturer, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, in his presentation on economic dimensions of national security, says government's decisions on economic policies can impact on national security.
How we approach economic policy today and economic development today has consequences for today, has consequences for national security, for social development, but more importantly, it has consequences for the future. So the decisions that we take today are economic policy decisions which impact or could impact national security, not only have implications for today, but they also have implications for the future. They not only have domestic implications, they also have international implications.
Fielding questions from participants, the Vice President lists some of the economic policies that this administration will pursue to ensure national security.
Part of what government also will be doing is in making funds available through various interventions and various windows. For example, for small-scale businesses, there's a 200 billion intervention that the central bank has, which we intend to ensure is given through the BOI and through other channels to those who require, to small-scale businesses that require this.
The Commandant of the National Defense College, Rear Admiral Samuel Alade, agrees that economic security will reduce social vices in Nigeria.
Without security, there can be no development. And the other way around, without development, there can be no security. It's as simple as that. So this is about providing providing for the well-being of the citizen. And once the citizens are satisfied and they can eat and drink, they have shelter, you'll find out that the rate of criminality will actually reduce.
The National Defense College lecture series provide opportunities for experts to shed light on issues that affect Nigeria's economic and national security.
The National Assembly has been going back and forth on the whereabouts of the 2016 budget document that was presented to it by the President Muhammadu Buhari on the 22nd of December 2015. Today, a new twist was added to that drama when the Senate President, Dr. Bukola Saraki, alleged that the senior special assistant to the President on the Senate, Senator Enang, had switched the original document with a new one.
The twists and turns as regards the 2016 budget is keeping the eyes of Nigerians firmly fixed on the National Assembly. First, there were media reports that the 2016 budget is missing from the National Assembly. But the Senate President set the record straight, saying the 2016 budget would be distributed to lawmakers on Thursday, January 14th, in preparation for a debate to commence on January the 19th. However, one thing is clear, there are some unresolved issues surrounding the 2016 budget in the National Assembly. This was made obvious by the announcement by the Senate that it had directed its Committee on Ethics and Privileges to investigate allegations of the whereabouts of the 2016 budget. The Senate President at plenary reveals the findings of the committee.
Our finding is that the Senator Enang, the SSA, to the President on NAS matters, printed copies of the 2016 appropriation bill and brought to the Senate. We have discovered that what he brought is different from the version presented by the Mr. President. We have resolved to consider only the version presented by Mr. President as soon as we received soft copy of the original document from the executive.
Channels Television contacted the Senior Special Assistant to President Buhari on National Assembly matters, Senator Enang, to get his side of the story. Senator Enang, however, declined to speak on camera, but he told Channels Television that he is not in the position to speak on the matter and he is not prepared to join issues with the Senate. However, briefing journalists, the Senate spokesman says the upper chamber is planning to reach out to the presidency over the controversy surrounding the 2016 budget.
At this particular point, all that is important to us is to see, based on what was brought originally, and the copies that we have for distribution, are they the same? The best I can tell you right now is that they are not the same.
The House of Representatives on Wednesday maintains that nothing is amiss as regards the 2016 budget. The lower chamber is still sticking with this position.
Well, I think as far as the House of Representatives is concerned, we are going to discuss on budget that was laid by Mr. President in the joint sitting and the copy that we have. If there are any other copies that are circulating other than the one laid by Mr. President, we are not aware of that.
All eyes are on the National Assembly to see what step it will take next as regards the 2016 budget. Linda Akibe, Channels Television News.
I'm now being joined on the news at 10 by business lawyer Mr. George Etome to look at the controversy surrounding the 2016 budget. I want to thank you so much indeed for coming on the news at 10 at this time.
My pleasure.
What's your reaction to the ongoing drama about the 2016 budget?
Well, the first thing that strikes one is when the language switch is used. What comes to my mind immediately is who was in custody of the original one. And if it was the Senate, what sort of safety mechanism did they put in place to make it difficult for it to be switched? Because it must have been an elaborate process to go remove it from wherever it was kept for it to be switched. So that needs to be investigated. And if indeed it was switched, I wonder why anybody would have bothered to do that. Because it's so easy if you want to change what was originally sent to the president to do so by simply withdrawing the original one and substituting it with the new one, or indeed allow whatever version was sent in to be debated upon. And the Senate has every right, every authority to look at the budget and make its own amendments so it can still bring it in line with what was finally intended. So it was inelegant of anyone to painstakingly go prepare a new budget and switch it. It's so easy to verify the original version anyway. If you recall, the head of budget had given details. They've actually given a breakdown of the components of the budget. You merely need to look at that statement he made, compare it with what is now described as switched version to know what the correct version is.
Now, the word switch by the Senate President.
Yes.
Does this in any way suggest that it is a treasonable offense to switch the budget without the knowledge of the Senate?
I don't want to jump too hard to conclusions at this stage because it would be quite serious using the word treason. But clearly, if it was switched, there needs to be an elaborate investigation as to how that could have happened. And then if it did happen, there must have been some degree of complicity, both on the side of the Senate and the presidency. So they really need to talk to one another because it had serious consequences for the relationship between the two arms of government. We're dealing with trust issues here. And if the one arm of government tries to undermine the other by its actions, it's really serious for our democracy. This is not too different from what happened with Watergate. You are beginning to see the early beginnings of the interference by one arm of government with the workings of another. That's not good for any democracy. And it started with early denials. So I would imagine that if there was something wrong, people should come out very clean earlier on so that this doesn't snowball into any unnecessary national
What
tragedy.
in your thoughts do you think is the implication of this ongoing controversy over the 2016 budget, especially in terms of the implementation?
Well, in terms of its implementation, as I said, the Senate should just go ahead and simply debate what the president put before them. That's what the president put before them. And it is well within their authority to make any amendments. You don't have to pass the budget in the form in which it was sent to you, which is why I find it so necessary that anybody would be trying to switch. So let them just go ahead and debate what was originally put before them. And no matter what the reasons were for wanting to switch them, there is always room for both arms of government to give back and forth and then come up with a workable budget. The most important thing is to come up with a workable budget.
Mr. George Itome, a business lawyer, I want to thank you so much indeed for your time and your thoughts talking to us on the news at 10. In part 2, after the break, the PDP spokesperson, Olisa Metu, sues the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the EFCC, for violation of his rights following his prolonged detention. Do stay with us.